Hi, everybody, and welcome to Testimonial Tuesday. This is Rhonda Hart, and I have a special guest with me today, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. This is Mama Mary. How are you guys all doing?
So, how did you start your Reiki journey, Mary?
Well, the first thing, and it's a little bit personal, but I'll share it anyway. The first thing that really got me started was I discovered my daughter was actually cutting herself. And so I took her into a therapist, and I was sitting there, and while she was in with the therapist first, I looked over to my right, and there was a magazine about Reiki there. Never heard of Reiki, never heard of anything like it. So I picked up the magazine and I started just looking at it. It was interesting. I've always been into spirituality, so it intrigued me, that idea of the natural healing. And so I read through that while I was waiting my turn to talk to the therapist. And so when I went in there, the first thing the therapist said to me was, don't worry that your daughter is hurting herself. She's not suicidal. Typically, people who are cutting themselves are just trying to release energy. And that fascinated me because that's what I was just reading in, the Reiki magazine was about releasing energy. And so I started really researching and checking into it, and decided to take the classes, and then eventually became the Reiki master. And then with my daughter, I was able to work with her and do Reiki. And within less than a year, she was completely turned around. Her energy was balanced. She was happy, no anxiety, no depression. She wasn't cutting herself anymore. And I realized there was really something to this. And I made it my goal that was the first stage of my spiritual development. And my journey was to connect with people and help them find that same balance. And that's some of my favorite times of, I'm more of an energy worker now than Reiki. But those moments when you've really made a connection with somebody, or they've released tears and they're crying, and you've helped them let go of something that no longer serves them, and they're going to be better for it. It's a beautiful thing. And everybody has this gift, and everybody should be utilizing this gift to share it with other people and help them.
I agree. I grew up being gifted and not having anyone understand me or believe me. And that was very disheartening. And I tried to shut my gifts down, did for a little bit. And then I had two amazing daughters that were gifted. And so I always believed them, but I didn't have the knowledge to guide them. So I honestly didn't understand the healing aspect of Reiki as much as I just knew that you could help people in the paranormal field. You could help families or a person with Reiki. So that's what started my journey. And then once I took the classes, I understood the full potential of it. So it's definitely, I agree, everybody should do it. I think it's the most amazing thing. So do you have any stories that stick out in your head?
I have at least two that really, really stuck out to me. One of the first ones, when I really first started getting into Reiki, and I was just having my friends come over, and I was doing the Reiki sessions with them. And I remember, because it would always amaze me, because for me, when I do Reiki, for me, it's not hands-on. It's all energy. So I'm connecting with their energy, but separate. I can remember the sparks in my hand, and then I could feel the jolts in my hand. And I remember looking down and asking my friend, did you feel that? And then as soon as I looked down, she was just crying. And so I just sat there and I let her cry for as long as she needed to. And that was the moment that I realized that Reiki was something that could really change lives for people. It was a natural healing, that minus the medication and the pills and all these people who think they're crazy and it's hopeless. And I'm like, you don't need the pills. All you have to do is decide to focus on your spirituality and growth and allow yourself to heal. You don't need the medication, and there's nothing wrong with you. And my second most favorite session, I think this one was, I would say it was 3 years ago now. And a woman that's high anxiety, she was very depressed, and my friend had brought her, and I think it was her sister-in-law or something like that. And you could just see the tension within her. Like, it's just, she was bound up and tight and just very agitated. So I did more of a shamanic Reiki session with sage, and more of a ritualistic one, a little bit deeper than just the Reiki itself. And that took about an hour. And I remember her coming out of the room and sitting down on the couch and looking at her, and she looked like a completely different person. She was not the person that she was when she walked in there, period. And we sat there and chatted for about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And I remember saying, I'm going to go check on the sage real quick. And typically sage just goes out by itself. More often than not, it's going out and you're trying to relate it. I walked in there and that sage had never gone out. It was burned. The whole place was full of smoke, and the sage stick was gone. So through that Reiki session, there was a lot that had been removed and released. And that's why there was such a huge change in her facial expressions, was because what she was holding on to was no longer there. So that one's always stuck with me and has impacted me moving forward with the different things you could do with Reiki. I think my third favorite one was a gentleman. And gentlemen are always a little bit harder to work with, just because they're more left brainers, and they're more like within and tight within. And with him, I always get reading impressions, but I just kept on getting like rock and roll and guitars and classic rock. So finally I said, okay, I can't focus on the Reiki. I need to know what a guitar what kind of meaning does it have to you? And he's like, he goes, I used to have a band and we played classic rock and we used to go all over. He goes, but there was so much drama that I ended the band because I couldn't take it anymore. Because then I really miss it, because I enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed going and playing for other people. And it's just something I've never quite got over. So that always stuck out to me, because obviously I was picking up on that, because that's what he really needed to focus on. Less than having Reiki done, he just needed to get out there and play his guitar for somebody.
Music is a type of sound therapy. I think it does, especially if you're empathic, I think it just does more to you than just the average person. It like goes straight to your soul. I swear it does. And it really can be a type of meditation. It can be a type of grounding. It can be so therapeutic. And I could see why where he needed to get back to that and to help him.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. There's times where I can always tell when I need a lot of grounding, because I want to listen to classical music. And I'll go through that for a couple of days, where it's Tchaikovsky and Beethoven and Mozart. It brings me calm, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like it plays music inside my soul. I know this sounds corny, but that's kind of what it does. It takes me to a different place.
Yeah. There's times where I want quiet and there's times where I need music.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes a little bit of both. Quiet music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know when every Reiki session is different, but I know a lot of times I'm drawn to listen to singing bowls while I'm doing Reiki. I really like that a lot.
Oh yes. I love my singing bowls. I got a whole set for Christmas last year. And whenever I feel like I need to just ground and relax, just tuning in with those and tuning in with the vibration and allowing yourself to open up that way with it. It clears out your chakras. It clears out the aura centers in general, but it's just a nice balance. Feeling that vibration going through your body. It's a humming sensation.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff. I don't have one. I really need to get one, but when I do home blessings, I actually would love to do that, go around, and on top of saging and doing what I do, I would love to go around each room, and it would be
That's a good idea, to be honest, because it clears
Yeah.
out, because it's clearing out that the rest of that energy, the residual energy.
Yeah, I love to get rid of imprinted energy. It's one of my favorite things to do when I do a home blessing,
Hmm.
on
I
top
think
of
like
whatever issue they have going on.
I think like the special thing about like Reiki and energy work is it really helps you clear out what no longer serves you so that you can start developing your spiritual gifts. Because like when I'm doing my energy work, I always start with that crown chakra and I'm drawing out the negative energy
Yeah.
right down to the root chakra because that's grounding whoever I'm working with. And then start spinning the chakras in the direction they're supposed to be and raising that vibration for them all the way up to that crown and then putting that Reiki in. And I've noticed with the people who I've worked with a long period of time that they have naturally opened up to their spiritual gifts by just having everything cleared out and that vibration naturally raised. And I'm listening to you. I might start adding that singing bowl at the very end of it. That's a good idea.
I can visually see each chakra, and I do the same thing. I do the same
Yep.
thing with the spinning with my hands when I'm doing Reiki. Just well, distance Reiki, I do that. When they're in person, I can just do it while they're there. But yeah, it's kind of a neat thing.
Well, I think it's important. I think there needs to be more to it than just clearing out the chakra. They spin in certain directions, so you need them spinning in order to function properly. It just clears that, it keeps it cleared out for longer, is
Yeah,
my theory.
not too open, not too closed. They need to
Yep.
all be in harmony. I like to
Yes.
explain to people it's all like your spine that holds your nervous system. Is if everything's aligned, it all runs smoothly. It's all flows like it's supposed to.
It's like a chiropractor, but for energy.
Yes, for your
Yep.
chakras.
It's a good way to explain it. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I had a gentleman the other day I was trying to explain it to, and he kept saying, well, I don't want Reiki because it's going to change me. So I had to think about how I was going to answer that. So then it dawned on me. So sometimes it takes me a little bit to process something, and then the answer come to me. So it dawned on me, because guys usually typically refer to cars. They're very car relatable. I said, it's you change your oil in your car to help it run longer and perform better. I said, Reiki is an oil change.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
waiting for him to get back with me because he was so hesitant about it. But hopefully he'll think about that. And because he was so worried that somehow Reiki was going to change, because he was like, the stress keeps me motivated. But I was just like, but you need to get rid of what's not meant for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to cut
Yeah.
some cords, and you need to, like, if you have an attachment, you shouldn't have an attachment, like you need. And I said, but I can't help you. I said, unless you're ready to let go of it. I said, so the fact that you're telling me is a good thing. I said, I'm glad
Yep.
that you're being honest with me. I said, because if you aren't ready, then it's not going to work. And then you're going to think Reiki, that didn't work for you, but that's not the case. I said, you can only sever attachments when the person is ready to have it removed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. That is so true. I've worked with people who they liked their Reiki session and they wanted cord cutting, but the next week they found themselves completely attached again. I'm like, because you've got to choose to let it go.
Yeah.
You have to want it. You have to let it be gone and stay gone.
It's unfortunate because what happens is they don't realize that feeling, even though it's not nice, it becomes comfortable though. They're familiar with it, and
Yep.
they don't understand that when they let it go, there's so much better that's there for them. But just because they don't know, they're afraid of it.
Yes, I fear really holds a lot of people back.
Yeah, it does.
I think that's the important part of like the spirituality and Reiki is the learning that fear doesn't really exist, only love.
Yeah.
Fear is kind of more of a man-made thing to keep us safe, but it really does hold us back.
And Reiki is nothing but positivity and love. I know, well, at least when I send it, that's all I give.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what it's for. It's to heal and to help and balance out and leave a person feeling better.
Yeah. I had even talked about in the last show that I did, where I like to even make my own black salt, just because I like to make sure the intention's set properly.
Ooh, how do you make your own black salt?
I can let you know about that after, but it's super easy. It's not hard whatsoever. There are
Now you have
so,
me
yeah,
intrigued.
no, there's just different ways to do it. Um, but I try to keep things simple, but it's just the intention part of it is the main thing that, like, I know where my intention is, and I know when I help people what
Mhm.
my intention is, and I like those to match.
Very true. Yeah, it's sort of like yeah, there's no point of having other people do it for you, because it's sort of like if you're doing ritualistic work. You could have someone try to manifest for you, but it's not going to mean anything because their
Right,
heart's not into it. It's
right.
it's more energy when your heart's into it.
I
You have
agree.
to want it.
Did you have any more stories that you wanted to share, or?
Those were my main three stories. I think those were the ones that were most impactful for me. I've done so many different Reiki sessions that eventually they just kind of blend in to each other. Those are the ones that stuck out the most to me, the
Um,
most important.
I am so glad that you shared your story about your daughter, though, honestly, because it's such a blessing to hear all the amazing different ways that people don't even remotely think about that Reiki can help people. And it's just truly, that's the whole point of the show, is to share all this different positivity. And I know every Reiki session for me is completely different from another one. And so, but it's
Mhm.
really good when you can hear those things that have made such a impactful difference in someone's life.
Yeah, the Reiki can definitely change lives. It really can, in a natural way.
Well, I would like to thank you for being on. Did you have any last words?
Oh, just a thank you for having me on. It's always fun to be able to get on and chat Reiki and spiritual topics. So I always look forward to more.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And if anybody else would want to be a guest and share their Reiki story, please let me know. Reach out to me. So have a good day.